Hey YouTube, this is Wrestling Spark Fan 62. In today's video, I am reviewing a WrestleMania 36. This year will make WrestleMania 41, so this goes back a little bit. So this essentially was the first pay-per-view for WWE after the pandemic hit. So this was roughly 3 weeks, 2 weeks, somewhere in that ballpark of, and I will say this, during that time, WWE did what they could to get all of their fans off the pandemic at that point. So that's all you heard about. So you had stuff like, on the news every day, you heard about the death toll rising to this amount. You heard about more and more places closing, and so forth. And so WWE did what they could to get everybody's mind off all of that. And I completely applaud them for doing what they could. And especially the turnaround and only do maybe a day or two change the performance center from a training ground for new wrestlers to a small arena is not an easy task to do. And I applaud everybody in this, which I will get to, about just how much they wanted to get people's minds off of this. So, without further ado, on the pre-show, you had Cesaro versus Drew Gulak. I didn't watch it, so I don't really know. I may try and go back and rewatch the pre-show later on. Oh, this whole show, I should say. So, and then you had Cesaro win. So, to kick off the main show, you had Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus the Kabuki Warriors. I will say this. This match showed how well all four of these women can wrestle. Say what you want about Alexa's wrestling, but it showed how well they connect. And it showed that just because there is a pandemic going on, that they can still put on a show. So, Alexa Bliss won via pinfall. I think it was versus Kyrie. Anyway, next match on the show was Baron Corbin versus Elias. Now, this one was good. And it showed that, both can work with each other. And Elias won via pinfall. The next on the card is Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. Okay, here is the thing. Going into this match, they made a great job with Shayna Baszler, having her as a killer. So this was on one of the last Raws before the pandemic happened. Of like Shayna Baszler biting, I believe it was the neck of Becky Lynch and it, like blood going everywhere and everything else. But the match itself was okay. Becky Lynch won via pinfall as well. So, for the IC title, you had Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan. This one in particular did good because it showed the best of both and how they can connect. Sami Zayn won. For the SmackDown Tag Team titles, you had John Morrison versus Kofi Kingston versus Jimmy Uso. Now, this one showed, in a ladder match, by the way, this one showed how well all three can wrestle. And especially when you add ladders into the mix, what can happen? And John Morrison won. For the 24/7 title, you had Raleigh defeat R-Truth and somebody. So during this time, to make things more interesting, they had the 24/7 title. If you don't know what the 24/7 title is, or was, it was a title basically that you had to defend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you had all these wacky shenanigans happen, especially with Drake Maverick and all of that, and R-Truth winning for 50-something times and all of that stuff. The next one, you have Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. Now, this one was good because it showed how well both can work with each other. And also, it had a spot where Kevin Owens jumped off the WrestleMania sign. The next one, Kevin Owens won. For the Universal title, you had Braun Strowman versus Goldberg. This one in particular was okay. But it was supposed to have been Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns. But Roman pulled out a few weeks prior due to, I think, the pandemic scare along with some other things. So they replaced him with Goldberg. Braun Strowman won. For the main event of that was Undertaker versus AJ Styles in a Boneyard match. This one in particular was one of the best cinema matches you can see. So I'm sure you've probably seen that meme going around Facebook among other places of like Undertaker behind AJ Styles with the light shining behind Undertaker. But also this was good because it showed just how well they can work with each other. The promos going into this for weeks on, I believe it was Raw, were great. And it showed just how well they can work with each other. And like the music they had behind it and everything else. And then one of the cool shots they had was AJ Styles' hand coming up from out of the dirt and all of that. So it was a rather cool thing to see. So this was the first time they did 2-night WrestleManias, by the way. So So you have WrestleMania Sunday. So on the pre-show, you had Liv Morgan versus Natalia. And Liv Morgan won. So to kick off the main show, for the NXT Women's Championship, you had Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. Now, this one in particular was cool because you weren't sure who Charlotte was going to go with. At the time, you had Becky Lynch. I forgot who the SmackDown Women's Champion was at the time, or you had Rhea Ripley in NXT. And so Charlotte picked Rhea at NXT TakeOver Portland after Rhea had a match. So Charlotte won via submission. Next, you had Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. This one was good because it showed the strengths of both men in this match and how well they can work with each other. Aleister Black won via pinfall. Next one, you have Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. With this one, a lot of this goes back to Mandy Rose. So this was the time where Otis had a thing for Mandy Rose, and Dolph Ziggler also had a thing for Mandy Rose. So I'm sure you've probably seen that GIF of Dolph Ziggler saying it should have been me. Otis won via pinfall. Next, you have Edge versus Randy Orton. I forgot if it's this match or another one, but they had like a, anything goes type match. This must have been just a regular match, but Edge won via 10 count out. Next one, you have Rob Lowe versus defeated Mojo Rawley for the 24/7 title. For the Raw Tag Team titles, you had the Street Profits defeat Austin Theory and somebody else via pinfall. For the SmackDown Women's Championship, you had Bayley versus versus Sasha Banks versus Tamina versus Lacey Evans. Bayley won. Next one, you have John Cena versus The Fiend in a Firefly Funhouse match. This one, like The Undertaker, was another great match, as you had no idea what was a Firefly Funhouse match. So with this, it was kind of neat because it brought back some of John Cena's past. So like when he debuted in the WWE in 2002 or 2003, in the Ruthless Aggression era. So then you had stuff with like the New World Order and all of that, and it was rather neat to see what they came up with for it. I would highly suggest, if you can, I know it's on WWE's YouTube channel, to go back and rewatch this. And to main event WrestleMania Night 2, you had Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre. So, with this, Drew McIntyre won the 2020 Royal Rumble. And it was funny to see it, but, it set up this match. And so Drew McIntyre won via pinfall after a Claymore or two. So, overall, WrestleMania 36 was a great show. They did what they could with it, considering the circumstances.